1970 की बात है। बात उस जमाने की है जब कोयले का व्यापार उफान पे था। लोग कोयले को ले गर्म रेगिस्तान, घने जंगल, बर्फीले चट्टान पार कर पहुंचते थे अमेरिका।
गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
गुड मॉर्निंग।
So sir, coal export.
Sure. Interesting.
और जहां उन्हें उस कोयले का मिलता था मात्र 50 रुपया,
बाबा।
और आज के जमाने में
Habibi,
Yes.
I wanted a little bit more funding.
किस लिए?
Imports, exports का business.
क्या इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट करेगा तो? अरे पर ये तो इलीगल है।
पुलिस स्टेशन।
अरे वो नहीं रे, इसका आवाज।
सर,
नया माल।
ये नहीं चाहिए।
एक सेकंड।
ये है हाथी और चींटी की कहानी। हाथी मर जाता है और सब चींटी पे हंसते हैं।
What comes to your mind when you think of an import and export business? You'll think of products like clothes, jewelries, programming tools, software. After all, these are the trillion-dollar business opportunities, right? But have you ever thought that stories could also be exported as a business? If you think about it, Hollywood and Bollywood have been doing exactly this for decades. In fact, you'll be surprised, but a simple Indian audio streaming company is now making millions of dollars by exporting its stories across the world.
It is a game changer. It certainly promises to be one.
And what if I tell you its audio stories have earned more money than some of the biggest Bollywood films released in the past few years?
Launching in UK, in Germany, in Brazil, and we'll probably launch 10 more markets by end of this year.
The company I'm talking about is PocketFM. Now, some of you might have never heard of its name or might have confused it to be a part of this company, but spoiler alert, they are not the same. Now, what will surprise you even more is that 70% of their revenue does not come from India, but from the US and other foreign markets. In fact, even I was stunned when I read this, and what fascinated me was that how could a local audio streaming company be making so much money abroad? So I dug into the story of PocketFM and the world of audio streaming apps and found some very interesting business insights that I will be sharing with all of you in today's video. More importantly though, I've got something better. I'm going to reveal how this new world of audio content is creating opportunities that you all can leverage to make money on the side. You know, people are making lakhs and crores by becoming audio creators and writers. But before we dig deeper into that, let me tell you how PocketFM even came into existence. It's a very interesting story. It all starts back in 2018 when Paytm acquired a Delhi-based startup called Cube26. Now this acquisition basically created a problem for their product head Rohan Nayak. He now had to travel daily on a metro from Delhi to Noida, which if you are somebody who lives in Delhi NCR knows how painful it is. So to kill time during his commute, Rohan used to listen to a lot of audiobook stories and podcasts, and since Spotify hadn't entered India back then, a lot of the content he listened to was only available on YouTube. And he noticed something interesting. He saw that even though these videos had just plain audio content, they still garnered millions and millions of views. So he got very curious and he started checking the comment section, where he discovered that all the people in the comments were demanding links to download the audio file separately, and all the creators were also adding them in description for these viewers to download. And this made him all the more curious, so he was like, let me speak to some of these creators to get a better understanding of this space. So when he started talking to them, they revealed that they were originally audio content creators, but since there was no audio platform to distribute their content, they relied on YouTube to build distribution and WhatsApp groups for sharing the download links with their subscribers. So this moment was the aha moment for Rohan when he realized that even in this age of video, there was actually a massive demand for quality audio content. Honestly, it's crazy that the idea came from him lurking in YouTube comments and just observing people's behaviors. Now, you know, it wasn't that audio platforms weren't there back then. Platforms like Gaana and Saavn did exist, but they were mainly for streaming music. So Rohan was like, let me do something about this, and he contacted his two IIT friends, Nishant Srinivas, who worked at Saavn, and Prateek Dikshit. And it was in 2018 when Pocket FM was finally launched. So the way they initially envisioned Pocket FM was very different. They thought of it being an audiobook and podcasting platform for tier 2 and smaller towns of India, also known as Bharat. But you know how we all experiment in the early stages of our career to figure out what we eventually want to do? They also ran a series of experiments in the first year of the business to find the problem that they were eventually going to solve in the audio space. And honestly, this wasn't an easy phase for them. So I was watching the founder's interview with Your Story while I was researching for this video. And in that, he revealed that how they almost went bankrupt and had to literally make 10 pivots before they finally decided on the market.
It took us 2 years. People used to ask us about DAU, MAU. So like, abhi mat pucho. We need to find the right format and the right product market fit.
This also shows to tell you just how difficult startups are. But after all of these pivots, they eventually found a category that became their pot of gold. So let me tell you about 2 problems that they and even Cuckoo FM founders who also started the business in 2018 discovered. First was user engagement. So back when Pocket FM started, they had a user engagement of under 5 minutes daily. And they wanted to increase this, so they experimented with the idea of launching short audio clips like Instagram Reels. But they immediately realized that this would fail because nobody consumes audio content for 30 or 60 seconds. The user behavior in audio is very different from video. The consumption in audio is done for long hours and mainly while doing some work, commuting or relaxing. Secondly, to quote the Cuckoo FM CEO, they realized that Indians want to discover once and consume forever. Now, some of you might say that this is not the case with me. I love discovering more content. But you see, even if we are all flooded with content option nowadays, it becomes very overwhelming to decide what to watch, which psychologists also dubbed as the paradox of choice. And you know, this is the reason why many times we end up rewatching some of the old movies or TV shows we watched earlier. I, for example, keep rewatching the same episodes of Seinfeld because many times it feels more convenient than trying to sit and find something new. Now, bigger problem that they were facing were how do you stand out in a market which is already cluttered with competition? And you know what? This is a problem that literally every person who starts a business in any industry faces. If you're also somebody who's planning to start up, you will also face it. But the key that both Pocket and Cuckoo FM found, and which I'll reveal in a bit, is to avoid swimming in the red ocean and find your blue ocean. Now, what do these terms mean? Let me explain. So, blue and red oceans are basically terms coined by 2 professors of INSEAD in a book they wrote called Blue Ocean Strategy. Now, red ocean is simply a space where every business is fighting for the same customer and where it becomes very hard to stand out. On the other hand, the blue ocean is a space where competition does not exist and where you can stand out as a business and create new opportunities. Now, you must be like, how do you find your blue ocean? To tackle this, they proposed a framework called ERRC grid, which can be very beneficial for startups. Now, this framework essentially says to, firstly, eliminate factors that the industry takes for granted but don't really add value for customers. Secondly, reduce factors that aren't as important to customers as the industry thinks they are. Third, what you need to do is raise those that bring a ton of value to customers but other companies haven't paid much attention to. And lastly, create new factors that the industry has never offered before but the customers would love. So to give you an example of a company which created a blue ocean, take Spotify. Do you remember a time before Spotify when we had to buy CDs, tapes or records to listen to music? Then came digital music, but we still had to purchase individual songs or albums or own specific devices or sometimes even download music illegally. It was a real hassle. But Spotify saw this as an opportunity and created a blue ocean for itself by pioneering a subscription-based model that allowed people to legally listen to unlimited music on any device with an internet connection and even started paying artists for their work. Now, coming back to Pocket and Cuckoo FM, using the insights that they found in their experiments, they created their blue ocean by forging a new category called audio series, which will basically be audio content but in the form of episodes that'll end on an interesting note, forcing people to come back and listen again and again. So their idea was to basically create a Netflix for audio. Now the difference between the two was that Cuckoo FM created this series in the educational space, while Pocket FM decided to focus on entertainment by creating fictionalized series in genres like drama, comedy, romance, and horror. And what they did was they also shifted their content model from user-generated content to professional user-generated content. Now if you don't know the difference between the two, under user-generated content, anybody could create and upload content on the platform. But in professional user-generated content, while non-professional creators are still allowed to upload their content, the platform would focus more on collaborating with professional creators who have a large following to ensure the content is of high quality. But I'll tell you what, creating content and a category is an easy part in a streaming business. The tough part is how do you monetize it, especially in a country like India, where the tier 2 and tier 3 cities of Bharat are infamous for not paying? Now, here is where Pocket FM did something totally different. To explain this better, let me first explain the monetization model for audio companies. So, first is subscriptions, which basically involves you paying a monthly amount, quarterly amount, or yearly amount to the company. The second model is freemium, which means that you can stream majority of the content for free, but will face interruptions with ads and cannot access some content unless you buy the subscription. Now, if you notice, all the major leaders have a freemium model. And I'll tell you the reason behind this, it's the Indian consumers' unwillingness to pay. You see, India is called the daily active users, that's DAOs, or monthly active users, that's MAU. So India literally called the DAO and MAU form of the world. Means that it's not very tough to get daily and monthly active users in India simply because of a massive population. They'll download your app, they'll use your app, but getting them to pay, that is where companies feel struggle. To give you some perspective, take a look at Meta's user base and ad revenue in India compared to the US. The difference is insane. You see, almost 70% of our population lives beyond metro and tier 1 cities, and they don't have a high purchasing power. So what companies are essentially left with is just this 30% pie who can pay. And this is the reason why streaming platforms with a subscription-based business model struggle to grow in India. In fact, we already know how Jio has been cannibalizing the Indian video OTT space, and Netflix struggles to grow its subscriber count. So I'm not going to bore you with that. But this situation is no different in the audio streaming space as well. Spotify, for example, is struggling to monetize despite having a monthly subscription plan, which is almost 10 times cheaper compared to the US. In fact, in the audio streaming space, only 5% of monthly active users are paid subscribers. Now, the pressing question that we need to ask ourselves here is, how did Pocket FM solve this problem? You see, after all their initial experiments, Pocket FM pivoted to a new style of freemium model where microtransactions replace subscriptions.
अरे तुम 2 दिन से सफाई नहीं हुआ है मेरे कमरे का।
बेकार लगता है क्या मैं जूता खरीदने को आया है?
ओ, मेरी गलती। आप तो कॉर्पोरेट वाले लगते हैं। जूता चाहिए ना? 1 सेकंड।
कितने का है
ये सर आपको पड़ेगा 1200 रुपए का।
1200?
एक मिनट। आपके लिए मेरे पास दूसरा ऑफर है। 1 सेकंड। ये और इसके साथ आपके लिए
ये कितने का है?
ये पड़ेगा आपको 150 रुपए का।
150 में जूता?
सर, ये कैसे किया आपने?
Microtransactions.
I found this quite interesting. How this would work is that instead of asking a user to pay a monthly fee to listen to the audio series, a user could access the first 2 episodes for free, but to access more episodes, he or she would have to buy in-app coins by paying a small amount of 9 rupees or completing a few tasks like following the company's social media account, completing a survey, or watching an ad. I mean, this is nothing but gamification. It's sort of like playing PUBG or any other online mobile game. So while the initial gameplay might be completely free, but to unlock some character outfits, you either need to play well to win some rewards for unlocking the outfit or pay a small amount to buy it. And you know what? The more rewards you get, the more you desire to play the game. As a reward you receive, give your brain a dopamine hit, making you keep coming back to the game and unlocking new and new levels and rewards. Psychologists, in fact, call this something called operant conditioning. Now, these microtransactions, combined with their newly created fictional audio series, opened up new avenues for Pocket FM and turned out to be a game changer when they entered the US. Now, because of all of these efforts, by 2021, the user engagement on the platform reached 120 minutes per day from 40 minutes per day. Their audio series also started gaining traction among the Hindi-speaking Indians in the Middle East and the South Asian countries, which gave them the confidence to take their boldest bet entering the US. Now, let me deep dive into how they cracked America. See, every one of us knows that India has the largest diaspora in America. And it is this diaspora that Pocket FM first targeted on its entry in US. Now, to compete with the established players like Audible, they launched audiobooks of the popular books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Atomic Habits, and more. But the most crucial thing that they did was they used a strategy that foreign brands have been using in India for decades. That is called localization. If you've seen our video on Lapinos, you'll remember this. Now, in case you haven't watched it, localization simply means catering your products or services according to the local preferences of your customers. For example, when Domino's entered India, they realized that Indians love their desi flavors, so they introduced toppings like paneer and chicken tikka to cater their pizzas to the local Indian taste. Now similarly, Pocket FM did this with their fictional audio series. For example, in the English version of their most popular audio show, Insta Millionaire, the main character has supernatural powers and encounters supernatural elements. On the other hand, if you look at the Hindi version, he's an ordinary person with deep cultural values, something that what India will appreciate. In fact, what they do is, each story they make has a different set of writers who could mold the characters and plotline depending on the language and the audience it is targeted towards. Apart from this, they also leverage the high purchasing power of the American audience. For example, the cheapest package in US is available for $1.99, which is 20 times higher than the cheapest package available in India. And not only that, the pack also has fewer coins than those available in India. Now, because of these pricing strategies, their average revenue per user, or ARPU, touched 3,500 rupees in the US, which is again 3 times more than that of India. But I'll tell you the biggest surprising metric, it was their TSL. So TSL is basically time spent listening, which is a metric that shows how much time consumers spend consuming the content on their platform. And you know what? Pocket FM's TSL in the US was 110 minutes compared to the 90 minutes in India, which is insane. Now, while researching for this video, we could not find a specific answer to why their fictional stories became so popular in the US, but we believe it's because of something called content market fit, or CMF. You see, when we make these videos, we learn something that with content, if something has worked well before with a certain audience, then there's a high chance that the same piece of content can also work with a different audience. Now, in the case of Pocket FM, their audio series was already widely popular in India, which meant that they already had content market fit here. But just because Indians are a little bit price conscious, the US gave them a way to boost their monetization on similar stories. On the other hand, it also shows that good content has no barriers, whether it's text, video, or audio. In fact, what I found most fascinating while reading up about Pocket FM were the opportunities which have emerged in audio, especially audio series, which I feel like is a literal goldmine that Pocket FM has struck. To tell you some numbers, audio series have 2 times more engagement than music streaming globally and is literally nearing the levels of video streaming. Their contribution margins, which is revenue minus the production and procurement costs in the streaming space, is close to 70% in the audio space. And you know what? Economies of scale will further improve the unit economics in this segment, because if you look at audio, it's actually easier to create quality content than compared to video. You don't have to spend much on lighting, camera, editing, and other equipment, which basically means that platforms like Pocket and Cuckoo FM can make more money, which can also eventually trickle down to the creators, that is the writers in the space. While I was going through this report by Redseer, I found some more interesting insights. You know, the headroom for penetration is extremely high for audio series. Look at this graph. And the second insight was that NPS on audio series is also extremely high. NPS is nothing but Net Promoter Score, that is whether you recommend this to somebody else or not. Now, you all know that how heavily we are betting on video as a company, but I do have to be honest here. You know, at the end of the day, when you spend so much time on screens watching video throughout the day, you go through something called video fatigue. I feel like with video, the cognitive load that's required to go through that piece of content is much higher as compared to audio. But if you look at audio, audio actually offers flexible consumption that's anytime, anywhere, and can be used to satisfy a person's entertainment needs without active participation, yet it still feels immersive. Now, I'm still going to be betting really hard on video, but I feel like audio series are also a very interesting space to explore. Now, remember at the start of the video, I promised that I'll also tell you the opportunities that you can tap into to make some money in the audio streaming space. Well, let me share. To give you an example of the earning potential, the top 10 Pocket FM writers earned over 2 crores in the last year. Moni Singh, a 22-year-old who created a show called Devil's Se Shaadi for Pocket FM, makes $3,000 on an average, which translates to 2.5 lakhs. Now, some of you might say, Achina, why should I be a writer for an audio series when I can actually go and pitch myself in Bollywood or Netflix? Well, I'll tell you what, the competition in those industries is just insane. You can literally struggle for years before somebody accepts your script. But when it comes to audio, the entry barriers are lower and so is the competition. I mean, yes, you still have to write well, but if you can do that, you can even become a freelancer and earn some extra money. Or if you want to go full-time, you can also become an audio creator.
One thing I must call out though
though, a lot of the content on Pocket FM is erotica, so you need to be wary of this. Also, with the advent of audio AI tools that can create whole songs with a prompt, I cannot promise longevity as an audio creator, but as of now, some people are making solid cash.
चैट जीपीटी का कोर्स ले लो, 10 रुपए का चैट जीपीटी का कोर्स,
15 रुपए का प्रीमियम चैट जीपीटी कोर्स ले लो, प्रीमियम चैट जीपीटी कोर्स।
मुझे कोर्स लेना था, आई वांट टू लर्न एआई।
मेरा कोर्स ले लो, मेरा कोर्स ले लो, मेरा कोर्स।
Stop taking these useless chat GPT courses. Learn how to build real products and projects using GenAI. उसी में तो फायदा है। Look over there.
At 100x, we are serious about generative AI. We play with it every single day, and our engineers have shipped the first Gen AI products to come out of India. We're doing a free live masterclass on Intro to Gen AI, where you will learn about AI models like LLMs, diffusion models, fine-tuning these models, autonomous agents, and much more. This is actual Gen AI engineering, not just ChatGPT.
Join us for the masterclass this weekend. It's completely free. To register, see the link in description.
Now, I cannot accurately predict how big Pocket FM will become in audio, but as of now, they've achieved an annual revenue rate of $150 million. They have a presence in 20 countries with more than 130 million users and are in talks to become a unicorn soon. They've also ventured into the reading space with their product called Pocket Novel, and I recently found out that they're also starting distributing their audio stories in the video format. Now, whether Pocket FM becomes a company with a massive catalog of IPs or goes public, only the future can tell. I genuinely had a lot of fun researching this case study. If you like this video too and want to learn more about such business case studies, please hit the subscribe button. My name is Achina Maya and thank you so much for watching today's video.
Sir, मालम माल।
पर अब ये नहीं चाहिए क्योंकि मेरे पास भी माल
తీసుకోవడం కష్టమవగా పేదాలను వదిలి ఆమె మెడవంపులో ముద్దాడాడు కార్తిక్
की वजह से वो तुम्हें मना कर रहे हैं
The three of us accompanied Sudham to the place where he said he would take us.